One of the most underutilized resources in a salesperson's arsenal is their CRM. And today I'm going to talk you through how to integrate CRM into your sales strategy. And I'm going to take you through kind of how I select a CRM. Probably one of my top questions is, what is your recommended CRM? Things to look for. And then I'm actually going to take you inside of my CRM, the one I use, the one I've selected, and show you exactly some of those critical elements that you should be looking for when you're selecting your CRM, and the things that you should do immediately to kind of optimize that into your sales strategy and get the most out of it. Because ultimately, I'm always trying to help you operate as a sales team of one. So be able to produce at the level of a team, but as an individual. So let me kind of take you through this document. If you want this document, there will be a link in the description so you can kind of grab it and use it as a tool to kind of work through and more or less like a checklist. So one of the interesting things that has always intrigued me about CRMs and many years ago became kind of my initial fascination was that just the name itself, customer relationship management, always seemed ironic to me because most of our sales performance and the things that we're tasked to do as salespeople is to actually generate customers. We often don't have a relationship, so we don't get paid to manage relationships. There's often other people that do that. So the primary tool that we use is called customer relationship management, and we certainly don't have a customer or a relationship to manage based on most of the things we do. So early on, you can check the Wikipedia page. I think I was unique in coining the term lead management system, and then that's become sort of its own segment within these types of tools. So most of the tools that are available to us are still characterized as CRM tools, but what I'm going to show you today is how to turn that into a lead management system. Of course, that assumes that you have some mechanism to generate leads. I've got other videos to help you with that, but would encourage you to start to build that system so that when that lead flow starts happening, you can be a lot more productive with your time. So here's kind of the short list of things that I look for in a CRM. I want it to be easy to get data into the CRM. I don't want to be doing a lot of data entry. A lot of CRMs, Salesforce is probably one of the worst at this, it kind of assumes that the salesperson is going to enter a lot of data, even if that's like spreadsheets and stuff like that. But you want to, if you are generating real-time leads, which hopefully you are, inbound leads, we want to make sure that that's easy to get in. We want to make sure that if you are getting sort of leads from other things that you're doing within your email, within your calendar, and those sorts of things, a lot of times our activity is outside of our CRM, which isn't ideal, but it's going to happen. So we want to make sure that that's synchronized into our CRM system. And then, of course, the obvious, and most do this pretty well, we want to be able to import data into the system through CSVs and stuff like that. There are also a lot of systems that allow us to prospect and build list, and it's nice to have those be able to be integrated as well. For most all of this, Zapier is going to get you there, right? Whether you have web forms coming off of your website, or you're trying to integrate something like Apollo or some other sort of source or list builder, there's lots of opportunities to do that with Zapier. And usually, just to keep it simple, it's the best way to do it instead of paying somebody to do some custom integration, webhooks and all that sort of thing. The other thing that most CRMs are getting really good about is I use Google Workspaces. I think it's pretty similar with Outlook, but just the ability to synchronize your email and calendar activities. Again, you don't want to have to, if you're working in Google, your mail account or your calendar, and you're working on something, you're setting up a meeting, or you get an email in, you don't want to have to switch back over to CRM and do all that. You just want to do that activity in Google, and it syncs up. And the other end of that is if you're inside of your CRM and you're setting some things up, you want that to sync back. So again, these systems are getting better and better at this. I think the actual Google Workspaces and Outlook is getting better and sort of opening up that synchronization. So that's really powerful. The other thing in this checklist, and I think, again, this is one of those factors that is way underutilized, and that's the ability to create templates, specifically email templates, but you may create some other templates like documents that you normally send out, or even contracts or agreements that are pretty typical, but the ability to set up templates so that you're not typing from scratch new emails. Now, I know AI is coming to sort of help with that a little bit. A lot of these systems have integrated that, but even in using that, it's better to start with a template because it forces you to, one, notice the repeated patterns that are happening inside of your CRM, the things that you're doing over and over again, communicating or providing, some level of material, collateral, value. It's good to sort of recognize those and to start to turn them into a standard operating procedure, right? And templates help you do that. The other power of the templates is kind of this next thing, and that's to be able to take those templates and turn them into sequences. And you'll kind of see when I pop into my CRM how I actually set up those sequences. In my CRM, which I use Close, it actually calls them workflows, which is a good characterization of that as well. The other thing is to be able to create custom statuses. Now, this can be a little bit dangerous because statuses, I see a lot of times people overwork these statuses and it can cause problems. One, it can create a lot of spaghetti, so you're not really sure what's happening to certain things or records or contacts in there. The other thing that can happen with those statuses is that you have sort of unnecessary statuses and it starts to kind of muck with the actual reporting and the statistics that you're getting back. So I believe to normally start simple and then from there get more complex. And you'll see mine has actually been sort of whittled back down to simplicity. For the most part, my statuses are things like, hey, I've got a new lead because and again, a lot of times these are organized by like, okay, that means I need to do something, right? Or I need to move it forward in some way, or that triggers some sort of workflow, right? So I have new lead. So what am I trying to do with a new lead? Well, I'm trying to get them to a scheduled appointment. And then I have a scheduled appointment status, meaning, okay, they've scheduled something with me. I'm sort of waiting on that event to happen. And then things like prepare a proposal, which in my case involves some other people. And then ultimately that proposal's out because again, it's sort of in that monitoring status and I do things while that's out there. I create some automation there. And then won and lost, right? So that is an area between won and lost that's kind of difficult to manage sometimes because there's a lot of deals that we don't know that we've lost, or we're not sort of convinced that it's totally lost, or we think there's a chance for a win back or something like that. So statuses are kind of an art, but they are really important to use in the proper way. And then, like I said, kind of mentioned here, the ability to trigger workflows, automations, and sequences, right? I want to be able to, and a lot of systems aren't great at this. You have to kind of manually do some things. Close has gotten better at this, where again, I have the opportunity to automate a trigger, right? Based on some sort of sequence of events or characteristics of a lead sort of being met. Now, again, this can be dangerous. This is probably why Close didn't do this for a while, and Close kind of has a philosophy about things, which is, I think has been great over the years because it sort of constrains you. They have this sort of, like I said, philosophy or mentality that tries to keep you from hurting yourself. And so anyway, this one can be dangerous, automated triggers, but the ability to turn on or to trigger a workflow even manually is super powerful. Some CRMs don't allow you to send anything into automation, which is, again, problematic. I don't want to just set up a bunch of tasks and reminders for me to do things. Ideally, if I've created a pattern or a consistent workflow, I'd love to kind of turn automation loose on that. And again, we're trying to create force multipliers here. And then some bonus points: phone integration, SMS integration. These things are getting more and more difficult with regulation. So I would say in the current compliance environment, you would want to steer away from systems that integrate dialers and just sort of random automation and sort of power moves, if you will. But it's super helpful to have those things at your disposal. So I can quickly communicate via SMS or communicate via phone, or instead of just always having to rely on email within my CRM. So those are nice integration points. I would generally look for a system that allowed me to maybe queue certain records and contacts for a phone session where I can kind of dial through several different records very efficiently, but doing that dialing in a manual way, again, sort of for compliance reasons. And SMS, again, that I would set up a queue and I would be able to send some SMS messages, or as I'm working my leads, just be able to quickly send off an SMS message. But I don't want to, because I think this will get you in trouble in this current environment, to just queue a bunch of people and then just turn loose auto dialing or turn loose an SMS campaign. I think those are sort of problematic. So be careful with those. Okay, so the big question, what do I use? I use Close, and I'm going to take you into that. I have been for years. It's what I'm comfortable with. It's what I built all my systems in. But there are some other alternatives that I'll kind of share with you. A lot of clients that I work with are increasingly using High Level. Sometimes they call it Go High Level because that's their URL. I think this is a good solution because of its flexibility. It does require a little bit of technical skill in order to kind of get the full value out of it. But I think probably the best use case for it is if you are in a business where providing that CRM or lead management is a critical part of your service or even a critical part of your success, and you would like for your folks to be using something that you've kind of customized or built, this is a great solution. They got a great pricing model for that. They have a white labeling system for this. And so I see a lot of people, particularly in my business, lead generation, where they're offering that as a solution. It's already set up. It conforms to what they think is best practices or what they've seen working. And so Go High Level can be a great solution in that context. The other solution that I really, really like, particularly for those of you that might be buying large quantities of leads. So there's a lot of verticals that just inherently by nature are typically lead buyers. Mortgage, insurance, solar. So if you're in those sort of businesses, my big preference is for Shape. And I have a lot of clients using Shape software. The reason I like Shape software are really kind of twofold. One, if you need a software to implement into a team and to immediately conform to best practices, Shape software is kind of like the only solution that does that well. The other piece that I like is a lot of these type of verticals have two sales requirements, right? They have one, which is handling inbound leads. So those are generally direct to consumer, but a lot of their business, a lot of their lead production is done through referrals. So contractors, real estate agents, professionals like CPAs and lawyers. So they have kind of this B2B aspect to it as well. And if you mix all that together in one pipeline, it's almost impossible to manage. Well, Shape allows you to manage two different pipelines with different sales processes and approaches. So you can manage a B2C for your leads, doing mortgages, and at the same time you can manage a totally separate pipeline and business or sales operation with B2B, and that working with your real estate partners, right, and keeping up on deals and stuff like that. So love that about Shape. So that's a great alternative in that context. Okay, so how should I set up my CRM? And then again, this is kind of a quick list, and then I'm going to pop over to my CRM and kind of show you how I've done some of this. One, just get familiar with the CRM basics, right? How to manage contacts, how they're organized in there, how the system works, go through their basic training and that sort of thing. You know, a lot of times they have videos. So really fully equip yourself with an understanding of your CRM and the basics of using it. And then the next thing is to create some mechanism to segment your leads. Statuses are typically what do that. As things come into your queue, they'll start to spread out and it'll get harder and harder to manage. This is why a spreadsheet never works, right? Because as soon as that new lead comes in, some of them will never schedule an appointment. Some will schedule an appointment. Some appointments you will have had, and so they're kind of waiting on contract. So again, you may have 10 leads that come in on the same day, and all of a sudden, and sort of where they are in your sales process spreads all the way across the spectrum very quickly. And then as you add more and more to that pipeline, that volume becomes very quickly unmanageable. In a matter of weeks, certainly within months, you'll have leads scattered all over the place in a whole bunch of different states, and you will lose conversions just because of that complexity. So that's, again, another important reason to use a CRM and to have this segmenting feature. The next thing is templates. Again, big fan of templates. I'm going to show you how to do that, and then turning those templates into automation as you've sort of proved them out in those processes. Of course, analytics are always important, being able to kind of see what's going on in there, how you're performing, and how all of your sales processes are working over time. And then personalizing communication, integrating other tools, and just learning and adapting is really kind of an important part of the CRM. And then last but not least, we never want to forget the fact that we're still in the business of building these relationships and creating relationships ultimately that will turn into customers. So don't forget the human element of all of this, that there are people behind those leads. And so trying to always work with each and every record as much as you can in a empathetic and personal human way. All right. So with that said, let's kind of really quickly pop over to my CRM and I'll show you how some of this is set up. Okay, so this is kind of the entry point of my CRM. You can see very quickly that I've set up a simple set of statuses: new lead, meeting scheduled, preparing a proposal, proposal sent, and won and lost. The things that are important to know about this is I always manually move things from one to the next. I think that's a really important step because that means you've sort of interacted with that lead. And most people don't have enough of a pipeline that you would ever have to do this in an automated way, so you can still be highly efficient. The other thing that's really important is I want to have sort of at a glimpse. I use these cards. I want to know kind of where it's at, how much is at stake, am I sort of constantly working the probabilities, so that all of this in a glimpse is understandable and is meaningful, right? So understanding what my annualized value is or what it's predicted to be. So my forecasting, my sales forecasting is completely automated, right? Because I'm using a combination of putting a number on it that is, again, reasonable, putting a percentage on it, which actually this percentage is built out over time. So it's based on data, but I know what they are for each of these statuses, and it's linked there. And then also when I put them into the status, things are happening, right? So there is actually automation behind each one of these steps to make sure that I don't lose control of it or lose contact or not follow up appropriately. So this is my main screen. This is where I live. This is where I work most of the time. I could always pop inside of these, and you can see in here a significant amount of communication. So again, things are linked together. You can see here, this is another one of the tools I'll probably talk about in another things. This is autopilot. I use this on every single call, and then I capture these summaries and put them in here so that I always have a record of that. I also use autopilot really actively to kind of go back in there. It has a nice chatbot. I can query that and quickly get an update and summary as to where we kind of left things, because as you go between records and you have a big pipeline, you'll sort of forget the status of things. And then inside of here, manage my opportunities and a lot of other sort of things inside of here. Okay, so as I'm setting this up, because this is kind of the focus here, I want to, once I've set up, well, actually, I'll show you in here, settings. So when I set this up, the first things that I've kind of dove into, here's another distraction, right? Customization, custom fields and activities and all stuff like that. I think, again, you can get into trouble here. So don't do this at first. Do the basics and then see what you need from there. I always start with the simplest approach first, and then from there I can add complexity. So my very first thing is I want to set up statuses and the different statuses that I'm going to use. So that's kind of what I've done here. They kind of use some funny sort of characterizations here. I use these, I don't really think of these as statuses, but I do use these to kind of disposition, if you will, the lead. So I understand if I lose something, was it a bad fit? Were they qualified? And that sort of thing. It also helps me with some reports. So this is kind of the first thing that I set up. And then of course my basics and my phone and all that sort of thing. This does have a dialer in it. I don't use the dialer for obvious reasons, but they do a pretty good job in this dialer functionality of kind of being compliant. So you have to kind of set it in motion, and it's an intentional thing. So you can kind of be a little bit safe there. The other thing that I do, and I spent most of my time here, is building out the templates. So things that I have done over and over again, I want to turn into a template. So checking in, how are things going, my schedule a discovery message. So this, as soon as the lead comes in, I want to immediately go after that discovery. And a lot of times, because of the way I'm generating inbound leads, that's kind of the assumption that we're going to have a meeting anyway. So I want to completely automate this. So I don't ever sort of manually schedule a discovery. I send this email out, and people are very comfortable with this process, and they jump in there and schedule their meeting. The other thing that are kind of several different follow-ups that I use, the ghosted sequence. Like I missed you on our discovery, right? I don't want to fool around with that. Like if they don't show up, I wait for like 5 minutes. I have this, again, a template, is now still a good time. I put in my Google Meet link there. So that's what I do every single time at plus 5 minutes on our meeting. And then the next thing that I do is I hop off of the meeting at 15 minutes, and then I start my ghosted series, which basically is, hey, I missed you, right? Let's reschedule. And I'm also, this again is sort of being graceful about it, so I'm always, I don't berate them, hey, you missed it or whatever. Like I'm trying to be very gracious and understand that things come up and those sorts of things. And as a result of this, I get a high percentage of rebookings, right? So I know we're talking about setting up the CRM, but there's little tips inside of here. Okay, once I have these templates, then the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to do my workflows. And so close, just move this. So I've set up some workflows. Again, I keep it simple. I don't want to go over complex. I could go all over the place with automations and stuff, but I have some very simple ones, right? So I have a ghosted sequence, right? They missed the meeting. It goes through a set of, hey, mission of the discovery, is it still a priority? Timing's right? Again, gives me a sequence, like 7 days or so to try to win back that ghosted. Lost follow-up, right? There's a lot of things that just go unresponsive. Again, I've just strung together several of my templated emails, because sometimes I use these one-off. I don't always have to use them in here. We haven't talked in a while, checking in, how's it lead gen going? Is this still a priority? So again, I've just sort of sequenced some of those together. Proposals that have been sent, didn't get a response. Again, this is a great thing for sequences. And again, I don't overwork them. I don't run them for like years and those sorts of things. It's just kind of quick little sequences to get started. So I think those are kind of the key points. I guess maybe one last thing is just reporting. Because you've done these things, my reporting gets really robust here, right? I can tell in any different quarter where I am ahead or behind of production. I know exactly sort of what my win rate is. I know exactly what the fallout is from here to here. I can introduce, like I'm in the process of introducing, I get a large percentage of new leads that don't actually schedule a meeting. So I'm going to develop a process for that. Again, once you've built the system out like this, you can look for these places where you're losing either monetization or just pull through, and then you can make some adjustments, or you can create a new system for that. So again, hopefully this was helpful. Just getting that CRM set up, choosing a CRM, understanding what's important. I always want to invite you to, one, be on our newsletter, but if you got this video, you probably are already on that newsletter. And then the other thing that's kind of new is the Sales Team of One community. So I encourage you to join that. It's a free community. It's on School. You can pop in there. There's all kinds of resources and other folks like you helping each other. But I also do regular live sessions, office hours, and then there's a bunch of training and courses in there. So hope you join me inside of that community as well. Have a great one.